and the grace of the Holy Spirit upon us, that open the eyes of our hearts and our minds to the knowledge of thy gospel. So, without a good
Amen.
Amen. Well, at that point, saying the prayer about opening the eyes of our hearts and our minds, I'm just going to reflect a little bit. I'm not sure what I said at the end of the liturgy, but something anyway. But it's about to open our eyes, not just to spiritual things, but to each other, to see the spiritual quality of each other's lives. But, I mean, above all, what's so hard for us is that we can't see other people as created in the image and likeness of God. And we find so many things wrong with everybody, you know, with so many people. And I hear more and more, even some of our own priests are preaching what we call culture wars, instead of preaching the gospel. We preach culture wars from the Solea. As if the gospel was no account, as if you'd forgotten the gospel and all it was some kind of ideology about how everybody else should live their lives. As Apostle Paul, Christ himself said to the Pharisees, you put heavy burdens on people, it's difficult to be borne, but you don't lift one even with your little finger. You won't lift a burden. You stop everybody else from entering in, and you yourself don't go in. That's the trouble, you know. I think there's a certain narcissism and egotism in Christians thinking we can attack everybody and the other people should just take it, just roll over and take it and not fight back. What happens when you're constantly attacking people is they're going to fight back. They don't care whether you've got something underneath that's correct, maybe the gospel's up down underneath, but you've got it buried so far under attacking people. And somebody says, why you've got this little group of scientists they call militant atheists. Actually, I spoke to Dr. Dennett one time because we were both speaking on the 100th anniversary of Darwin's birth, or death, I guess, but at Carleton. And I talked to Dr. Dennett, he says, and so we for a long time, and I realized that you can't be attacking scientists, calling them names and saying that they're lying and all kinds of things, and expect them not to fight back. Why are you going to corner somebody and say nasty things about them, and you're going to expect them not to respond or not to fight back? So it's not our place to be attacking people for these small things, or for anything really. It's for us to be proclaiming the gospel and trying at least to live the gospel a little bit. Trying to be, you know, being decent doesn't just mean that you're not committing adultery or robbing banks. I mean, there's more to being decent than than that sort of stuff. But to be decent to other people, you know, not to try to be offensive to other people. There's a lot of people we don't agree with, you know, it could be offensive to all of them. And that's a problem. We want to preach cultural wars in the church. Talk about it outside the church. All of that stuff you can talk about outside. Present your opinions, present your point of view. But don't expect people not to fight back when you are always browbeating and belittling and accusing them. And then you say they'll fight back. Oh, they have an agenda, they have an agenda. Of course the agenda is to stop you from browbeating them and being mean to them and causing distress and pain. That's what their agenda is mostly. You know. But I kind of, even myself, I kind of resent it when I hear people attacking science and scientists. Oh, you know, there's no real global warming. These scientists meet together in a secret cavern and they make this stuff up just to be who knows why. But you know, I have too many really good friends who are working scientists, and they're not bad people, they're decent people. And they're certainly not cooking up conspiracies and plots and schemes and scams. That's not what they're about. So why shouldn't they fight back if that's what Christians are going to say about them? They're not going to roll over and play dead. Neither is anybody else. Nobody else is either. So people are going to fight back. So why are we attacking them in the first place? Who told us to go and attack people like that? Where does it bring the gospel? Is it one hint that we should go and attack and belittle and persecute and harangue people in it? So that's what it is. We, you know, if Lazar couldn't and the rich man couldn't see each other because of the darkness, we're supposed to be living in the light. We can't see each other. Most of the time we can't even see ourselves very clearly. And so we have to be more circumspect. Christianity is not a school of morality. Christianity is a transformation of the inner person, a rebirth, a new birth, a new existence, a regeneration of ourselves. That's one of the great deficits of Christianity, perhaps in our day. Maybe there have always been some people. But you always have these fanatics who think that Christianity is there to bring a rod and bring the law back on people and enforce that law. But when Christianity is disappearing in North America, because it's been reduced down from the revelation of God to a moralistic ideology about how everybody should behave, and I should be the one to tell them how to behave. If they don't listen to me and my group, they're all going to burn in hell forever. So it's been reduced down to a moral philosophy. It's no longer the bright revelation of Christ or the transformation of the human people. It's just a moral philosophy, and so it's useless, it's worthless. That's the thing. You attack people, they're going to fight back. And if you're attacking them from a moralistic point of view, and not even preaching the gospel in church, you're going to lose. The gospel has power, your ideology doesn't. The gospel has power, your moral philosophy doesn't. That's the whole thing. Anyway, we're going to pause on the book of Hebrews today because and Paul tells Timothy that there's one mediator between God and man, the man Jesus Christ. And I'm going to pause on that because it comes up in the 6th chapter of Hebrews, this whole first part of Hebrews. We're talking about the new high priest after the order of Melchizedek. High priest not from human history, not from something that's been established at some time in history, but a high priest with no genealogy. And what is Christ? Then sometimes people tell us, well, why do you ask the Virgin Mary to intercede for you? Why do you ask the saints to intercede? Why do we ask each other to intercede for us? Every time you pray for somebody, you're mediating between them and God. That's what mediation is all about. So you're mediating for something better for the person you're praying for. And we ask each other to pray for us or mediate for us. And so we ask the saints and the Theotokos to mediate for us also. I mean, after all, they're part of the church too. But only Jesus Christ can mediate this union of God and man. So why he specifies the man Jesus Christ? Because he wants to, it's the incarnation. That Jesus Christ has this fully human nature and this fully human person. He's mediating between God and man. But the mediation is taking place in himself because he's united God and man in himself. Stop to think about it. If Jesus Christ is the mediator between God and man, who's he mediating to? He's mediating to himself then. Because he is God. Well, so Paul specifies the man Jesus Christ. He wants to show us here's the human nature and the divine. They're being reconciled together through Jesus Christ. He's mediating this reconciliation, mediating this coming out of our separation, our alienation from God. So in Jesus Christ. Then we stop start talking again about the Old Testament law, but Paul clearly tells us, if there's a new high priest, there's a new covenant, then the old law can't still be in effect. It's the old law as part of the old covenant. Oh, somebody's locked out. But, and what is the new law that Christ has given us? Now, just read the Gospels carefully. And the new law is strictly the law of love. Every bit of it is. Which means, when we love, it can't be just saccharine or think love like giving candy to one of the kids or something. But love is a transformation of the person. At least in Greek you can say love in 4 different ways, and you'll understand there's a difference. You can't do that in English anymore, once upon a time. But this love requires transformation. It requires an inner transformation. It requires rising above ego. We're not talking about romantic love. We're not talking about it's the love even between, but even the love between husband and wife requires a suppression of the ego in both parties. You can't enter into a marriage as two egos. So already you've got to understand that when we talk about the law of love in Jesus Christ, we're talking about a law that rises above our ego and our self-interest and our self-concerns and encompasses more than us and more than some one person that we have love for. So this is a new law, a new covenant. And Christ's blood, because covenants were always sealed with blood, because of what the ancient people thought blood was. But it's to look upon a new high priest, to remember that, as Paul says, the manuscript that was against us is torn up. I think in some of the English translation this is handwriting, which is what manuscript means, handwriting. So the manuscript of the law has been torn up. We're not under the law, and Paul stresses several times, and in Hebrews as well, but especially in Galatians, reminding us that we're the children of Abraham, and I know we've said that many times, we're the children of Abraham, therefore the children of the promise. So Christ is mediating the promise to mankind to be fulfilled. So the only real law that we have to look to is the law that Jesus Christ taught and the law that the beloved apostle tells us in his letter, the letter of John, that whoever still has fear has not yet learned how to love. And whoever says that another apostle tells us, whoever says that he loves God but despises a man is a liar, has no truth in him. You can't say I love God, I love Jesus Christ, and despise a human being, or hate any human being, because the apostle tells us you're a liar. You have no truth in you. You can't love God and hate man. That's not possible to do that. So who art thou, man? So Jesus Christ has mediated this new covenant. And the new covenant is really a covenant that abolishes law as such and gives us a new spiritual way of being. It's not just a law. You can't give somebody a law and say, you're going to love so-and-so, you're going to love people. I mean, you can't force love. Love isn't something that's coerced. That's love has to be an assimilation. Well, okay, love between husband and wife, that's partly on the passions. But love for people in general, and love for humanity, this is something else. This is something you have to assimilate, that we have to grow into, that we have to strive to grow into. And if you see somebody or some kind of people that you don't like or don't feel intolerant toward, don't bother to hate them. Just don't bother with them at all. Just separate yourself and go away, so you're not led into the sin of judging somebody. And when I was a young deacon in the 70s, and I had taught Sunday school at Holy Trinity in Vancouver, even in the 60s. But when I was the deacon, I used to go to Vancouver to serve, and I stayed with an elderly Ukrainian woman, like Okolina Gavrilovna. And she would put everybody to shame on Saturday night. I would go and sleep on her sofa, but I could hear in her bedroom she was doing Metanisat. You know, she was doing prostration. She was praying whole night. She was praying. And we rode the bus to church, and she always had her prayer book, you know, her Meleti1 with her. And she was reading all the time. I said, you pray all the way to church on the bus? She says, no, I pray every time I ride the bus. I just look at my prayer book, because if I look around, I might be guilty for two sins. I'll be guilty of seeing somebody who causes me to go into temptation about judging them. So it's my sin for judging them, and maybe their sin for doing something or wearing something that causes me to judge. So if I read my prayers, I don't pass judgment on anybody in the bus. And that was her philosophy, you know. I stayed with her for about 2 years. Every Saturday, I'll go and stay overnight at her place. So she was diligent to try to understand something of the faith, and that it entailed trying to say your own prayers instead of judging other people about how they live or anything else. If you don't like the way other people live, it leads you into temptation, then go away from them. Don't let it lead you into temptation. Don't be tempted by it. It's much better if you overcome the temptation to judge and say, well, they have a right to live their lives. I mean, life is short. They should be happy. Let them be happy. You know, if you can show them something higher and something that gives you more joy in Jesus Christ, let them see it in your life. You don't have to chase them around with the Bible trying to thump them, you know. And you don't have to chase them around saying, are you saved? Are you born again? You should go to church. You should, all this nonsense. You know, it's just, let them see something in your life that reflects your faith and what you believe. It's, Apostle says, always be ready to testify for the cause of your joy. He doesn't say, go out and assault people with the cause of your joy, but be ready to express it if you're asked, if somebody approaches you. When you have to go chasing people, saying, look, I'm joyous, and you should join me so you can be joyous too. Otherwise you'll burn in hell. I mean, what's that got to do? That's how so many Christians approach it. You know, there's one, sometimes in the correspondence I get from people absolutely in desperation because some priest who's brought this Protestant ideology with him, and some of our priests are even worse, but anyway, they bring this Protestant ideology with them, and they're very harsh with people, very moralistic, and they don't try to help people solve problems. You just want to condemn people because they've got problems. You know, so often I hear that. You know, condemn people because they have problems, instead of trying to help them solve their problems, help them find a way out. So it's somehow we have so much backward. But what Christ mediated something else. He didn't mediate a moralistic law to us. And the morality that he revealed to us is a true morality because it's a transformation of the heart. And it proceeds from the heart, motivated by love. Otherwise, it has no moral value. We tell people just, oh, behave this way, behave that way. That's just your opinion. It doesn't have any moral weight or moral value. You know, you should behave this way, you should behave that way, you should do this, you should do that. You shouldn't do this, you shouldn't do that. There's no moral value. It's like people ask me some people ask me why I didn't go and pick at put my cassock on and go pick at an abortion clinic. And I said, look, in the church I have some sort of authority, but out there I'm just an old man who dresses funny. You know, so why should somebody listen to me because I go out there and say that? So who am I that I'm telling them how to live their life and how to behave? I can object to all these things, and I can even stand on the street corner and preach, aside from the fact that somebody would come with a butterfly net and cart me off to a mental institution, but it's something, you know. But you find this going on so often, but who are we and why should people pay attention to us? What kind of authorities are we? What do we have that lets people know that we have something worth listening to? Or we're just raving fanatics of some kind. So people have to see something in us that tells them that we're worth listening to. Otherwise, why should they listen to us? I mean, we're nobody, we're just some person on the street. I mean, maybe I dress funnier than most people on the street, but anyway, that's the whole thing, is that if there's no sign of this interest. Somebody once said if we were all put on trial for being Christians, could they find enough evidence to convict us? See? If we were all put in a court charged with being Christians, or we were put on trial for being Christians, could they find enough evidence to convict us of being Christians? That's the thing. So that's the new covenant that's been mediated to us. When we say that Christ is our mediator between God and man, He's mediated a transformation. He's mediated a change, a restoration of the true human nature. He's mediated this new covenant in His blood, which is completely different. It's not based in law, it's based in the fundamental elements with which God created us in the first place. And that was that we live in a position of unselfish love between God and man. And if we talk about obedience to God, I know I've said this before, we're talking about law. Something bad happens, there's a hurricane or a tornado or an earthquake. Oh, it's God's punishment. Well, it's God's punishment with them, not me, because I didn't get hit. And I hear somebody sometimes saying, oh, there was this happened a couple of times. This hurricane was headed straight for us, and we all prayed, and God turned the hurricane that went somewhere else and didn't get us. It's a miracle. Okay, it didn't hit you, but killed 1,000 people south of you. And what a blessing that was from God, that it killed 1,000 people south of you instead of you. I mean, this is no miracle. It just happened that the wind shifted. And yet we're always talking about, you'll hear the 700 Club or something all the time. There's an earthquake. Oh, God was punishing people because. Well, if a child is killed, what was he punishing for? Being a baby? So that's part of the problem. That we're always looking at something negative in obeying the law and keeping the law. And yet we have a new covenant, a new high priest. And we're concluded under a covenant of love, a covenant of inner transformation, a covenant of lifting our humanity up toward God and not trying to drag everybody else down. Anyway, that's all I'm going to say today. So, anybody have anything to say? Bye, Lydia.
Have a nice day. Keep the road.
Tell the kid come and see us someday.
Thank you for
He's 25 years old, and we didn't see him for 25 years.